But your folks have always been in as residents. There have always been residents of Metro Denver. Everyone in Metro Denver, every citizen of Metro Denver is in. And so the whole attitude has to be that this is open, and it's voluntary, and it's non-exclusionary, but be prepared for the fact that you're going to have to deal with non-engaged elements of it. And they're going to have to just wait that leadership out. Because then their citizens will send them a signal. What are you doing? Get in. You need this. And I've seen, places go quickly to tipping points where so many places are now in that the outliers seem to be just harboring this sectoral, ancient concerns that don't seem to really reflect the reality of the moment and seem rather petty in the context of the bigger picture.
I really appreciate one quick follow-up on the Denver example. In order to break the cycle of, the natural self-interest that's involved with cities and municipalities. In the Denver example, what is the enhanced benefit that has brought those metro folks to the
What has been the benefit is this, that you'll get your turn. And we'll all do better if we wait our turn, because we'll be able to get more and give less by way of concession. So, for example, Centennial got an IT, and it was a kind of big lift because of the sales taxes. But it had already looked the other way, while some of these other municipalities had gotten, station stops on the rail system and so on, and their citizens were paying for the region-wide capacity. So there's a sense of a kind of careful and balanced exchange. And then the city, the region has this benefit. When you have a company come in and it thinks that it can just play these municipalities off sometimes, then they can get a sweetheart deal that is almost unsustainable for the municipality. And the one thing that everybody knows when they're doing the corporate relocation with Denver now is you don't bother going to the municipality, you go to the metro council. And the municipalities aren't going to break ranks and cut side deals with you. They're going to have to do it together. What's the stake in it for them is simple, that they don't get left out. And sometimes things make sense and they fight it out, and they broker it out. And that includes, by the way, state investments. So this is not just, corporate relocation. This is not just, an IKEA. This is not just a high sales tax capacity, car dealership or something like that, or an auto world. This includes some of the transportation infrastructure investments, community colleges and community college campuses, sort of region-wide assets. So what they do is it's a kind of a place that serves as a quasi-legislature where regional interests are represented. And what's interesting is it's completely outside the bounds of any formal structure. But if you go outside the group, what it is you will not be the recipient of any goodwill and benefits of the collective. So, and it depends. There's regions you couldn't deliver this and you would have needed more formal structure. There's regions where they were doing this all along and they didn't call it that. Turns out, when you look back at the history of it, it was just, or there was a big dominant city that annexed everything in the first place. Just took up so much regional space there was virtually nothing left but that city. In case you use Texas, every neighborhood was it. And so the regional government was the same as the administration. Harris County was essentially the city itself was so much a dominant player. Whereas here, you've got St. Louis prohibited early in the 20th century, or late 19th century, to continue annexation. And all the emergence of this external economy and interest outside of St. Louis. And as a result, you have a relatively small scale central city, not an expansive central city like you see in other places. And that divide in places like Detroit, St. Louis, Cleveland, and others, that's been the problem. That the interest at one point was, at one stage, St. Louis was capturing whatever the region was growing at. And then through municipal law, through incorporation, through home rule, it failed to grab assets as they kept emerging. So it missed whole development rounds. Manhattan would be maybe a distressed central island in a increasingly remote ring of suburbia, were it not for the fact that when Queens was still developing in the latter part of the 20th century and picking up airports and assets like that, the city itself was the beneficiary writ large of all those assets. But if you don't have that structure and you're still Minneapolis and you've got rings of suburbs that go on to the prairie, there's a way around it, which is you can just cooperate. Even if the accident of history has left you with a relatively modest sized city and overscaled and oversized suburbs, and you have most of your economy is suburban, overwhelming share. And that's true of Minneapolis as well. It's got the same share as suburban. But the difference between the Minneapolis case and the case of St. Louis is that the suburban economy that surrounds Minneapolis and its medical instrument industry, and Honeywell and firms like that, those are benefiting the entire region. They're not the singular assets of a set of suburbs who tax them, who preserve that interest to themselves, who don't share that interest region-wide. And it's nothing that the legislature did, except now it's done, it's formalized revenue sharing in schools, but there was nothing that the legislature did to induce that cooperation. It was just civic-mindedness, not just on the part of the Honeywell CEO or the medical instruments industry, it was the collective interest of the region, historically. Okay.
Well, that, I have more.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
And I
No,
know it needs to be out here. And what you just said about the legislature didn't do it, I'm like, okay. With where we are in St. Louis, we have the county and the municipalities within the county, and we have the city. So we have multiple, maybe more factors that kind of get in the way. We've heard many people, though our hearings have not been whether or not we merge the city and the county, but we've heard many people speaking against that, which if, capital I, capital S, this was ever going to happen, I'm assuming it would never happen in my lifetime, but people are so adamant against something that could happen 50 years from now. We have areas of the county that have resisted wholeheartedly to become incorporated, who actually, I've been told, would like to become a county of their own. We have multiple very small compared to the larger communities. And with our county providing municipal services, is that something, I mean, I know I'm asking multiple things. So we have the county doing municipal services, and then we have other entities. I mean, I'm assuming, first of all, what we have to come up with is the right message, or the discussion to get the right message, or a path out of where we are right now, but to where.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Do you have any ideas as far as if we were going to say, okay, we're going to start a process right now, other than, and you get everybody in the room, probably most people are arguing about their self-interest. Do you have an idea?
Yeah, one, I'd establish a rule that it can't be a zero-sum game. In other words, you're going to have to put something into that code, so that some extra capacity will have to be added. But it's agreed upon extra capacity. I mean, so because one of the biggest fears is that if you're living close to the bottom line right now, and you engage a partner, and that partner says to you, you now seem relatively advantaged when you use some of your resources to fix these problems over here, then that is a recipe for disaster. Because that's just not going to work. And then there's this other separate question of a free rider problem. And this has been the history of American suburbia. The first time they built Levittown out in potato fields on Long Island, it was unincorporated, there was no county, the county had to take up all the taxation and sort of pay all the infrastructure. Well, in Los Angeles County, under what's called the Lakewood Plan, places that